Keep Calm and Cut Him Off by Bruce Bryans. I advise you to buy this book. It's small and very funny. Here is it. We are going to read portion of that book. Number 1. The book is 13 Reasons Why You Should Cut Guy Off. You can read it. But we're going to read just a small portion. As you can see, I read different books. No longer you entertain a man who doesn't want you. The longer it will cripple your self-esteem. This will make you cynical towards men, including the good, high-quality men you may meet in the future. Keeping a contact with a man who doesn't want you in a way you want him will erode your self-esteem over time. The intermittent tenderness of his words and touch, mixed with his emotional detachment and aloofness, will deeply arouse your feminine desire and keep you addicted to trying to win his heart, at the expense of your own happiness and self-respect. This sort of male courtship behavior is seduction 101, and so long as a man can communicate and interact with you, his way and influence over you will be overwhelming. The worst part about this is its effects on your self-esteem over time. Every time you contact him and get a cold, dismissive response, if you get one at all, it will chip away your self-esteem. Every time you make an attempt to see him or allow him to see you, only for it to end up with you feeling used, unwanted, or unloved, it will slowly eat away at your self-worth and taint your overall impression of the opposite sex. This sort of thing happens way too often to women, I will add, and men, and it's one of the biggest issues that stop women and men from finding the love they truly want after they finally muster up the courage to walk away from a bad romance. Unfortunately, when a woman develops a deeply cynical view of men, it will inflict her attitude and seep into her interactions with the men around her. Sometimes those negative behaviors are overt, but most of the time they are subtle, especially if the woman in question actually wants to attract love, devotion of a good man. The problem is that guys can pick up on this sort of thing rather quickly from the way a woman interacts with them. Sorry about that. You'd be surprised on how fast men can tell whether or not woman actually likes a man, regardless of how much it seems she wants to be loved by one. Just to be fair, this sort of things happens to men as well. Where a really bad breakup with a girl or series of girlfriends can cause a guy to become completely jaded to the wills of women. I want to clarify, wills of women is the way women charm and seduce a man or flirt with a man. I had to search this one too. This then causes them to turn to the dark side, so to speak, where they may opt to act more cold-hearted with a woman in the future. Or worse, they may decide to become heartless players in order to avoid getting too deep and getting burned by another woman. Sorry, let's read this again. This then causes them to turn to the dark side, so to speak, where they may opt to act more cold-hearted with a woman in the future, or worse, they may decide to become heartless players in order to avoid getting in too deep and getting burned by another woman again. I only mention those things to illustrate that even guys can become very cynical, sometimes even more so, of the opposite sex, which in turn makes it difficult for them to attract and keep a good high-value woman in their lives. For both sexes, becoming overly cynical when it comes to love and romance makes it especially difficult to cultivate emotional intimacy in a relationship. Emotional intimacy. I love this. Emotional intimacy is the secret sauce that keeps a couple firmly in love and devoted to one another over the long course of a relationship. And it is impossible to cultivate or maintain it if you distrust the opposite sex and habitually see them in a negative light. This is why quickly cutting ties with a man who rejects you is so crucially important to your future romantic happiness. Getting rejected once from a series of men can be extremely hurtful, but so long as you cut them loose quickly, you can also heal quickly as well. Constant rejection from one man that you refuse to let go, however, can be emotionally crippling. Doing so will slowly poison your feminine soul and makes it difficult for you to trust the man you meet later on. Remember, men cannot become emotionally attached to a woman without emotional intimacy. And in order to cultivate emotional intimacy, both sexes must be willing to be vulnerable, honest, and trustful of one another as the relationship progresses. Don't cripple your future romantic happiness with a good, high-quality man by polluting your heart with a bad romance. Beautiful book. I advise you to buy it. We're just reading one piece of different books, as you could see. Eventually, one day we will finish this one. My thoughts on this chapter. I think that one part of this chapter is very general. When the man, he says he doesn't want you. The truth nowadays is most of the men wouldn't say I don't want you or reject you that openly. They will pretend that they want you, and they would pretend that they're interested, but they're just busy with work, with their mother, with their family, with their friends. They will corrode you and make you think that they want you. But in the end of the day, I noticed this here in America. I'm in America now 6 years, and this is a little bit, how to say, it's like a crushing into a new culture and trying to understand this culture, how this culture works. I haven't met a guy able to dump me yet. I know. I have heard that other girls being dumped. It's just like, normally I'm out of the game way before I'm dumped, but sometimes I want the guy to dump me so he leave me alone. Like some guys need to end it. So I noticed that I pretend that we are back in a relationship several times so they can dump me. Actually, one I was seeing somebody for 4 years, so I kind of give him a chance to dump me and tell me that it's over. And then after a few weeks, he was back again, offering nothing. So I think the part that is not very clear about this is about rejection. I think a lot of people thinks rejection means no, and I don't want to spend time with you. And I think rejection is not that clear nowadays. Sometimes rejection is very subtle. Like, for example, somebody pretending that they're into you, but they're just never organizing a proper date. For example, I could see that, oh, let's hang out, let's go. Oh, we went to walk, or I love walking. I love going out. I love hiking. But a lot of guys would be so lazy, like, hey, what are you doing? Let's do something. And what is this something? They don't know. And when you ask them what is hang out, they don't know what they want. They never ask you, like, hey, do you want to grab a coffee? Do you want to go to walk or see art or to a museum? There is nothing clear. It's just like, hey, full my time. And a lot of girls are like, oh my goodness, yes, we're going. And it's like, oh, where are you going? And it's like, oh, it's not clear. And then it's just come out that the guy was just walking around and so on. Anyways, I'm sorry, my phone is ringing, but I'm gonna ignore it. So talking about rejection. Rejection is not always so clear. And dismissive response. I don't think a lot of people dismiss you by response. Nowadays they play a ghosting game. No response. What is worse than no response, in my opinion? They respond you, but they ignore your question. I noticed that a lot of guys here do that. I rather have somebody be cruelly honest and tell me something that I don't like than try to dismiss what I ask and give me some candy sweet response or deviate my attention to something else. So responding is not always mean that this guy is there to give you what you want and to treat you the way you deserve, you know? Like a lot of guys will respond and they will be like, oh yeah, I would love to do this, but I'm busy. Oh, I'm doing this with my mother, with my father, with my brother, whatever. And they would know, oh, I'm so busy, just being busy, you know. A lot of people will respond to keep you around, but they would actually not address clarity. So dismissive response, it's okay with me. Clear rejection is, I respect clear rejection. I would say I love it because there is so little honest people left in this earth. So I feel like if somebody is honest and rejects you openly, it's fine. It's okay. Yeah, it's not pleasant. Of course, you may cry, but at least this person has a dignity to be truthful and honest with you instead of playing and keeping you around to use you when they want to. So worse than dismissive response and rejection is to keep you on the hook by responding, which I experience. This happens a lot. And say that they are interested, but right now they really have to do this or make this deal, or I have that deal or that thing, or and then just so this book is beautiful. Deeply cynical view of men. I have seen that in a guys too. For example, I see somebody at the gym and I see that he is like deep inside. I observed this guy for over a year and a half now, so I feel like I know him a little bit. He would make a lot of cynical jokes and just very unattractive words, you know. And then he thought I like a guy, and he would move and make me sit to the object of my desires. So I realized that he was human and sensitive and caring inside, but probably he have had several bad romance that create these cynical ways of him to do that. Getting rejected once from a series of men can be extremely hurtful, but getting rejected over and over by the same man could be very damaging. And I would tell you, being rejected is not something guys say nowadays, but I developed this, I will call it like observation tactic, and I will share that with you. They will pretend that they're into you. I notice. I have dated one person the last year, I will be honest with you, and they will act like they're interested, and they will respond if you text, and they will text you, and if you want to do something, they will come and do it with you. However, there would be some level of neglect. And here we go. They're not 100% neglectful, no, don't get me wrong. But if there is something that is important to you, or for example, this newspaper wrote about me and I shared it, most of my friends were like, oh yeah, that's so great, I love it, I love the interview. There was zero acknowledgement, or let's celebrate, or zero happiness for me. For example, if somebody is not happy for you, yes, or I felt like this person would just drag me to see him, but him never have a clear plans, and like he will show up for a date and be like, oh, he doesn't know where he's going. Or I don't want the guy to bring me to this super huge expensive reservation. I don't care where you're gonna take me, but I care the guy to know what he want to do. And maybe I will not want to do the same thing all the time, but they just have an idea what his interests and hobbies and where he likes to go and stuff. And that was not the case here. So I believe this is a very inspirational thing. Don't pollute your feminine heart with a bad romance. I like this book because it guides you towards being a feminine, and acknowledge that you can be hurt by somebody not listening to you, or not being attentive to your life, or never listening to yourself. Basically, this first part, I love it, is win his heart. I notice a lot of American guys will act that you have to deserve to be my friend, deserve my time, deserve a man like me, this type of game, that you never actually have a healthy interaction to know each other as a humans, and to know what you want and what you dream for, and what you feel, and like how you do things, and why you did something, or how you make errors in life, and how we interact, and how those interactions make you feel inside. But I noticed with this guy specifically, the last one I was dating, he hasn't spent a second to, I don't think he knows anything about me, or my preferences, or who I am, or what makes me happy, or what makes me smile. He just met me, and all the right away I had to win him. Yeah, right away he wants you to, he reminds you that a man like him is so great, you have to be grateful, the man with his value, with his quality, that you're not gonna find a guy like that. And he had all these complaints that were just words, but there was nothing concrete behind, like, oh, I regret spending time, I should have done this or done that, or it's like a little things that accumulate, and to the point that I was like, do I really like this guy? Like what I want? Do I like how he spent time with me? Or every time I give him time, he complains about it. Instead of say, hey, thank you for your time, or thank you for taking me out, or thank you for bringing me to the park, or thank you for, it's more like, oh my goodness, I wasted my time with you. And there are guys like that. I'm sharing these guys to make you laugh, but there are guys like that, very good looking guys, that would actually have And it's not a heavy complaint. It would be like, oh my goodness, I'm late for my mother's dinner or something. To be like, oh, I made something wrong, or once again. So I love this book. So if you guys in deciding to drop someone off, I would advise you to read this book. I just stopped talking to this person and I'm trying to be with myself. I am with myself, not dating other people, because being with yourself is so powerful, to discover you again. And I felt like I'm missing being with myself, and enjoying organizing myself a day and doing something that I like reading. Thank you for being here. Write me down your comments on that first chapter. Do you guys feel like that was empowering and inspiring? And do you feel that bring you closer to your feminine side? And just to be your tender you. I hope you enjoy it. Bye-bye.